Everything you read in Stars and Stripes, Fair said. He spat into the road, ending the conversation. Big Mike looked at me, eyebrows raised. Or looked down at me, I should say. Big Mike, Staff Sergeant Mike Misnakowski, was tall and broad and took up most of the cramped back seat. "I was looking forward to the flowers, Billy," he said. "In Sicily, all they threw was stones." The jeep moved slowly, past open fields and into more hedgerows. Here the roadway became a narrow, sunken lane with a deep ditch on either side. For centuries, farmers had been mounding earth to mark the boundaries of their fields and to keep livestock in. Topping it all off was a tangle of trees and bushes, their roots intertwined with the gritty gravel, dirt, and stone base. Hedgerows made every pasture a fortress, every lane a death trap. "How long have you been here, Sergeant Fair?" I asked. Fair had been ordered to take Big Mike and me from 1st Army headquarters to the outskirts of Brickville, where a dead body was waiting for us. Not the sort that ended up in a tree or torn apart by explosives, but the kind that found itself wearing a slit throat in the sitting room of a French villa, safe behind the lines, and wearing the uniform of a U.S. Army captain. Simply said, it was murder, an almost quaint and old-fashioned custom these days. Killed in action was the usual phrase, and here in hedgerow country, the French call it the bocage, there was a lot of it going around. "I've been on the line since D+3, Fair said, his voice a low mutter as he turned to study me. He did his best to look unimpressed. My ODs were clean, and from the chafed patch on my shoulder, I was obviously nothing but a headquarters feather merchant out for a joyride. Fair was headed back to the front, where he'd been since 3 days after D-Day. His olive drabs were worn and muddy, bleached by the summer sun to a shade not found in any quartermaster's stores. The bags under his eyes were as dark as midnight sin, and crow's feet arced from the corner of his eye, an occupational hazard from squinting over the sights of an M1. His mouth was a thin slit of insolence. His eyes were narrowed, wary and suspicious. He didn't bother saying sir, but I didn't care about that. At the front, there was an unspoken rank, and it wasn't based on an officer's bars or a non-com stripes. It had to do with how long a man faced death and kept going despite it. All Fair knew was that Big Mike and I still had the smell of London about us, and that made us nothing but nuisance cargo in his book. I didn't blame him one damn bit. "Anything else, Captain?" Fair said, his eyes scanning the road as it curved ahead, which was obviously of greater interest to him than any stupid questions a desk jockey from Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force, had. Probably why he was still alive. He clamped a hand on the driver's arm, signaling him to roll to a dustless halt. "Look, he's making a run for it," Fair said, pointing to a flurry of road dust off to our right, where the land sloped away. "Oh?" Big Mike asked. "The jerk who got all those cows killed?" the driver said. "They're dead meat," Fair said, leaning back and shaking a Lucky Strike loose from a crumpled pack. He lit one, ignoring the sound of distant booms and the screaming crescendo of shells coming in from the German lines. "The Kraut's got a crossroads over there zeroed in." Explosions crumped a mile or so away, just ahead of the dust cloud, belching smoke and fire as they ripped through trees and shrubs. Then it was over. Fair drew in his smoke as if it were oxygen, cupping the cigarette even in broad daylight. "Shouldn't we see if they need help?" I asked. "No," Fair said, shaking his head at what to him was obviously a silly question. "Let me finish my smoke." He did, tossing the butt into the road as 2 more shells landed out where smoke from a burning vehicle was already curling into the sky. "Krauts always send a few in after the fact," Fair said, signaling the driver to move on. "To pick off guys who don't know any better." Meaning us. The driver eased his way around the curve, keeping the speed down. Down so much we could have walked and kept pace. But I didn't complain, since I liked not being blown up. "They ain't going to like keeping us stiff around this long," Big Mike said,